So a man walks into a bar. He says, ouch. Anyway, there should be a bigger laugh at that. Thanks. Like, I try to write jokes for you, anyway. So I think I first realized I was gay at number 7. Jesus falls the second time. It was kind of hot, the cross was heavy, knees weak, blood on his loincloth already. Give us this day our daily bread with mom's spaghetti. Anyway, that's just my experience as a closeted altar boy. Who is to say that there is like this ever-present homoerotic to the Bible? But did Jesus seek the validation of men by asking them to finger his hole? Sure, yeah. And was there always another man inside? 2 men inside Jesus, to be exact. But maybe the Holy Spirit, could be gender fluid, who knows? But that's just subtext. Anyway, I'm here today to introduce the new book of the Bible, authorized by Pope Francis himself. It's about queer love and centers around parables and an underground speakeasy for queer people. The book is called Cocktails, eh? And it's really impressive to see the church move forward with the times. There's even in one of the parables, there's a transgender cover band of the Dixie Chicks called Chicks with Dicks. So it's great to see the Vatican make peace with their often unrecognized queer fan base before old Francie kicks the bucket. But anyway, that's that, and I'm going to sit down. I just want to feel the floor for this one. I didn't really practice or do much in advance for this speech this week, so I wrote a poem. I know, exciting. It's very long. It's called Erra on the Side of Caution. Okay. Yeah. So, I'm apathetic. I'm an effigy. Apathetic. I am a F-A-G. I see kamikazes die screaming Yahtzee. The Oval Office is occupied by a Nazi. On his village bike, peddling a new Reich. While I'm rocking a pike from our false election, pop an erection at the false election. It's exhausting to err on the side of caution. It's corny like Trevelyan. I'm Faustian or Machiavellian. Don't mock my intelligence, my mock tree references. I'm quick like a leprechaun. In fact, I'm a leprechaun. Like Jerry Hutch, I'm a butch on a clutch in a fascist car crash. Fillet this smash hit facetious rhyme. I rock cash fetishism like fastidious crimes. Look at my Sam lines. Insanity's lacking originality. I'm miscongeniality with a hyperactive mentality. Paranormal hyperactivity and dispossession. Can't book a therapy session when you're in a recession. I'll get away with murder because I've got away with words. You don't know what you're in for. Ain't never seen a white guy with a mic before. One with hormones and metaphors, so when I met a whore, you hear hormones. I'm the high man of the timeline, rhyming in line with my time, and I find that history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And what will you do to you? Because it's draining, this pain when I stain my name and entertain a room of overpissed champagne socialists. That's why this tune is for the babies, tombs, and tomb. So consume the threat of your imminent death that I've curated just for you. Compare it to the devil's era. Under devil era, beware the sins of our father. Or bear the father who comes a little harder to come a little farther in an altar boy. Fuck your deification. He's the blaspheming heathen, mean and screaming. The Lord is within thee. Oh, what you do to me as you read Deuteronomy and call me daddy. Better yet, call me Moses when I split your red. See, me, calm and composing beneath your forbidden. 300 degrees is a hot in here. Is it just me? I like boys and girls that scream like band. She's on top impaled by my tear at knees, weakening or my deep creeping on you after hours. On the count of 3, I'll go down on you like the second plane to hit the towers. So open wide for the body of Christ, I'll give you bread for head because you're looking tight. If it's no trouble, let's debate the troubles. An alternate fate, enemies to lovers and sectarian hate, the brothers in arms split by a gate, the scars of Jerry Adams and Ian Paisley. And Jerry had him, he said, it pains me, so Ian don't tease me. Let's stop the protests and unite the culture. Get 50 shades of orange on my tricolour. You're my soulmate, my Protestant prince. I'll make that prostate once you prostrate below the peace gate. And he kept it straight. He said, I'm like Jesus, a religious experience. Come finger my hole and make me delirious. I don't care that I'm a Presbyterian. You know I love feeling a Fenian in me. And when I feel you finish and I'm Fenian for more. But you can't be gay in the IRA because they slay children in a different way. The gays bust some kids in the back door, but the IRA blow children up to the coroner. But down south, you can bum a fag and smoke a fag at the back of Bagot Street. So would you rather join the rat after you've hung from the rafters? Ooh, up the ra. Up the ra, Nigel. Up the ra. Bertie, I heard you. Look at Bertie's hernia. In the pale rent is Dublin, but they don't clear. This verse is awfully stupid. Why am I here? I'm a loud mouth with no mower rhymes. Should put a cork in it. At least I should try. Before Armagh gets the wooden spoon, these words are as useful as a gigolo in a convent, but I regs it soon. I'm all out of euros, so I gotta pay those hoes in potatoes. But if I had €1 for every time the government took accountability for its crimes, I still couldn't afford a loaf of bread. Daniel O'Donnell would tear up floorboards looking for pipe, and your mom's been zombified by our iPhone 5. We're in the Matrix full of neo-Nazis, yet Trinity claims we welcome diversity. They even let a few Catholics in now. 1916, we got rocked by some gale force winds. Now my daughter's the only Irish kid in their class. The rest are all Protestants. Oh shit! It's actually a very complex issue, and laughing at jokes about Catholics and Protestants is what leads to further derision and hate on this island, you know? So you shouldn't laugh at that. The Brits fucked us raw, left their asshole Picasso'd. The price of existing stirs up a panic. Dad, I'm struggling. Then go play in the traffic. I feel a little nationalistic. They want pre-famine levels, but not with that lot. Guess love for their country is like their parents' values, a little shallow. Well, my parents always voted for Fine Gael, so I had to fill their shoes. But your dad also fucked your mother. Would he do that too? I'm all over the place. My mind's a haze. If my dick were longer, I'd show up late. I'm not ethereal. I got baggage and all of it's venereal. But what I feel is real, so when I raid you, I meant rail you. You'll call this package Israel. I'm sick of it all. I wish I believed in God. Everywhere I look, it's just wars, drugs, and alcohol, corruption, division, scumbag politicians, homophobes, racists, transphobes, misogynists, same old traditions, really. And I have to pay €4 for a tea on Dame Street, which is like the real issue here, guys. So, you want your Brits out? You want to talk culture? Let's talk about the man on the street corner. He says immigrants is Ireland's fall, with only blacks invading our land or the Tans and the Dáil. The government's bulletproof might as well call the Taoiseach ricochet, and your standards are so low you'd probably fuck yourself anyway. Let's be real, the Irish complaining about immigration is like a bull complaining about shit. I'm cursed by the anger of my ancestors, who speak a language I can't understand. That's the work of my government hand. I could have fit this in a limerick, to be fair, but if I got to spell it out, I'll make it stick. You want to talk 800 years, borders and boundaries, but ignore the tragedies of the Magdalen laundries? It's like Enoch Burke with food poisoning, you know? Holy shit, am I right? If the glove fits, we still acquit. We'd lie back in nettles for it. And if you care so much about the housing crisis, then why won't you look a homeless person in the eye? Don't lie. If you really care, then grow a pair. Have a stare. Stop acting like they're not even there. The complicity of your silence is a solicitation of their death, and nothing is seen as a legitimate threat. But let me run this back for you. Why the fuck should we get the Brits out when we can't even sort ourselves out? Sinead.
Are there any objections to me signing these minutes as a true and accurate record of the last private business meeting? For being none, I shall duly sign. Everyone, welcome to the University Philosophical Society. The motion that stands before the House tonight is this House will get the Brits out. Standing orders are as follows. Speeches are a maximum of 7 minutes for student speakers and 10 minutes for guests. After the first minute and before the last minute of each speech, which will be signified by a bell, speakers from opposing sides and audience members are free to offer points of information. We encourage general audience participation during our debates. If you hear something you like, you can shout "hear, hear," and if you hear something you don't like, you can shout "shame." We prioritize respect during our debates, and as a result, if anyone has any concerns about what is said tonight, our senior member of council, David Kelly, will be around at the reception all evening. It is contactable via email at smc@tcdphil.com. Alternatively, I am contactable via president@tcdphil.com. Without further ado, I will introduce the speakers for tonight's debate. From Trinity, speaking proposition, we have Fiona Graham. From UCD, speaking proposition, we have Stefan Debarre. From Trinity, speaking proposition, we have Elizabeth O'Brien. And from Queen's University Belfast, we have Ray Bean, speaking proposition. Opening the case for side opposition from Queen's University Belfast, in the Literarific, we have Dermot Hamill. Following him, we have from UCD, Tom Carolyn. And then from Trinity, we have Gabriel Bakar and Yvonne Farrell closing out the opposition from Trinity. Without further ado, I call on Fiona to open the debate for his side and the debate as a whole. Hear, hear.
Gee, Vicarja ain't this an Irie mock? I beg you now, remember the institutions that ravaged Ireland that came from British colonialism. Cromwell's parliamentarians, the Ulster Volunteer Force, and the Liz Subcommittee. For those of you that don't know, they're the subcommittee of the Phil reserved for women and gender minorities, all well and good, but they pushed their luck a little bit. They had a debate, and this is how I know the last of the true Catholic spirit of this country had been demolished. They had a debate titled, "This House Believes Men Are the Weaker Sex," and I found that utterly outrageous. I don't want to go too in-depth into a biology lesson here, but I want to make it clear, I want to make it absolutely clear that men are not weak at sex. We're just nervous. Okay? But it's a real problem. Intergenerational trauma has severely damaged the confidence and reproductive health of young men in this country. He knows what I'm talking about. My personal intergenerational trauma that drove me to a point of exhaustion and flaccidity was misdiagnosed as erectile dysfunction by I'm not going to say what group, what people, what doctor, what hospital, because I know I can't say that. It was a Protestant doctor. And that is just one of the reasons that I have my qualms. Well, the historical persecution of Irish Catholics, the burning of the Irish flag on the 11th of July, and the videos I have seen of them eating our dogs. But folks, after almost 800 years of oppression, we got them back for our reproductive disfigurement. Did we bring our language back? Well, no. Did we get our 6 counties back? Who cares? We got something better. We blew up the Nelson's Pillar Monument in O'Connell Street, the symbol of colonial oppression, and we put in its place, get this, a slightly longer pillar. Our history was once again a phallic measuring competition, and this time we won. Because that is revolution, that is striving. Otherwise, what is it that separates humans from animals? Well, the Irish Sea, of course. But apart from that, it is striving. Now I say we take these reparations one step further. I say we renovate Stormont and turn the Stormont building into a nice, big GA club. It might finally get a bit of use then. Otherwise, but I don't want our friends from Queen's University to get offended by the motion of this House or any British person in the room, because I think the wording is misleading, okay? When we say Brits Out, what do we actually mean by that? Like, do we literally mean, getting every British man, woman, and child and dragging them through Dublin Airport? Maybe. But, no. I'm joking, of course not. That's not possible. These guys will tell you firsthand. Britain is full, so we'll send to Rwanda. Thank you. But I did, in respect to them, decide to do some research into the actual differences between us. I decided to go straight to the Catholic Bible and figure out where we all went wrong. And I found a passage in Peter 2:1, almost a perfect grade, so I knew it would be good. And it read, Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Now, my Latin is a little shaky, but that loosely translates to I hate the Brits. But don't worry, it's the Bible. It's not to be taken literally. It's a metaphor for let their women and children burn in hell. But I thought, surely that can't be true. I mean, because at the same time, whether Protestant, whether Catholic, we are all Christians, and that's the great thing about religion. Every culture has its own image of God. Now, when I was younger, I was quite religious myself, and I used to believe I heard Jesus speak to me. He'd say, Fionn, my son, you'll be fine, things will work out. I traveled the world later. In Jamaica, I saw something incredible. I saw a painting of Jesus in the image of the local people in respect of their culture. And then I heard him. Everything gone bialry. And I said, Christendom is so back. Christendom is back, okay? Because no matter how different we are, really, we're all the same. Or so I thought. And then I went to Belfast, and I tried to connect spiritually to the Protestant Jesus. I really tried. I like your kneecaps there, buddy. And then I realized that some difference just cannot be reconciled. Courage led Hull, I beg you, propose this motion. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Fiona for that very fine speech and call on Dermot, the current president of the Literafic, to open the case for side opposition. Hear, hear.
I have to say, this is probably a big first in Irish debating. The College of the Holy and Undivided Trinity of Queen Elizabeth near Dublin's, one of their larger debating society, debating this House would get the Brits out. Probably a big first. Not only is that a first, but hearing the whitest man I've ever met doing a Jamaican accent was definitely a first. Whenever I first saw this motion, it was when Annika posted the term card of the Phil on her story. And I replied, holy shit, the 13th of March is wild. Next thing you know, I'm stood in the GMB. And I want to talk very quickly about the GMB. What a beautiful building it is. The second oldest student debating chamber on the island, after ours at Queen's. But not only is it here in the most British institution on this island, it's also the host of the Liz, which I've been reliably informed by a member of the Phil's Committee, I believe, is named after Her Majesty the late Queen Elizabeth I. I've also been reliably informed that the Society used to host a competition called Maggie's, named after Mrs. Thatcher herself. Now, listen, I am not some British flag waving, kneecap loving, yeah, kneecap as in these ones, not the mediocre rap group. I'm an Irish speaker, I'm an Irish man, but I have to say, when it came to coming to what I would consider probably the most British universities I've ever been to, and I've spoken at Oxford, it was a shock, because my first thought was, oh fuck, what are we going to do with the Phil? Because if we get the Brits out, most of you are all gone. If you go down to Dublin 4 and go to Stefan's Society, most of them are all gone. Because while most of you may not be British in ethnicity, most of you are what we would call in Northern Ireland, listen, I'm only joking, Stefan, I love you. Most of you are what we would call West Brits. And that became clear whenever I first spoke to someone from Trinity, and I first spoke here, and the House voted in favour of Pascal Donoghue's government. And it brought me back to a quote from James Connolly, where if you remove the English army tomorrow and hoist a green flag over Dublin Castle, unless you set about the organisation of the Socialist Republic, your efforts would be in vain. England would still rule you. And never has it been more obvious that the English still rule this wonderful island than it is here in Dublin. Because at the same time that this week I was preparing for my speech, and then I left my speech book at home, so I'm kind of winging this, I welcomed the Historical Society, the HIST, up to Stormont. And I met their auditor. And I really don't want you to get the Brits out, because Tom Francis, their auditor's a really nice English chap. And then I heard loads of HIST speakers go on about how we shouldn't do anything for the Nordies up north. And then I looked at the Irish Constitution, Bunrach na Heron, the beautiful document of Eamon de Valera, who I'm sure everyone here loves. And I looked at everything and this aspiration for United Ireland. And I was like, oh, isn't that great? Sure, I'm a shinner. I love a United Ireland. That's our whole shit. And then I look at the South. And no one here really wants to get the Brits out or wants to unite Ireland. Because if you go to Newry at Christmas time, because of the border, all of you fuckers come up to our off licenses and buy all of our drink. If you go up north, you all slag off our Tito. Our Tito crisps are better than yours, because ours has a bowler hat and is not in the orange order, we promise. You come down south, look at what you pay for cigarettes. Look at what you pay for drink. That is proof to me, as a smoker and as a very heavy drinker, perhaps more than my mother would like. It is clear that if you were serious about a United Ireland, I wouldn't pay $8.50 in the Duke for a Moretti. What attraction is that to me?
Why are you drinking Moretti? Come on.
Because I was told it was the drink of the South Dublin metropolitan elite. And if I'm going to do well in debating, I better start blending in. But it's become clear to me, Downey, that you don't want the Brits out. Because you lose everything you've got down here if you get the Brits out. You lose Tom Francis over at the HIST, who's a lovely chap. You lose the Literific. Like, where are my Literific guests here? They're all here. How many of you hold a blue passport? Hands up. fucked if we get rid of them. If we get rid of them, all the Southerners in my society will coup me in a week. And trust me, I've seen enough coups in Irish debating in my time. So, the crux of my idea here is, if you get the Brits out, you're all fucked because you lose all of the West Brits here, and as pointed out by Side Proposition, they all get fucked off to Rwanda. I'm fucked because I lose my society. And at the end of the day, you all stand here in a bastion of Britishness. There was nowhere more British on this island than right here, as much as the people of East Belfast would be annoyed. You stand in an institution founded by the Anglo-Irish. You stand in an institution named after Queen Elizabeth I herself. This notion of getting the Brits out doesn't really work. If you want to talk about a United Ireland, talk about one, be serious about one. But until something changes, you're all more British than my guys. You know, like, they've all got funny accents and, you know, will tell me that Ulster Scots is a real language. But you can all speak Irish. But while you stand in this institution, an institution that has represented British colonialism on this island more than any other, then if we're getting the Brits out, you'd all pack your bags. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Dermot for that very fine speech and call on Stefan, current auditor of the University and UCD, to continue the case for Side Proposition. Hear, hear.
Hang on a second. Tá áthas orm leabhart os de chóir nocht. An dara chumann díospáirt is fearr an éireann. Taobh hir de mo chumann grá féin. An chumann litreartach agus stoire. Ach, tá iarn an ag leabhart an seo nocht. Chéad bhliain ó sin ní leagfa dom leabhart an seo. So, gurb maithagad. And for the benefit of the Trinity students in the audience, the rest of the speech will be in English. But I'm always reassured when I speak in front of the Phil, because it's one of the few times in life that I'm confident that I'm not the biggest arsehole in the room. So thank you again for hosting me. But it is a pleasure to be addressing the Philosophical Society in Trinity, and I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate your president, Annika, and her speaking partner, Matilda, on their very fine performance in the recent Irish Times final. Well done. But I'd like to start with a quote. I thank the goodness and the grace which on my youth has smiled, and made me in these modern times a happy English child. A rhyme no doubt familiar to you all as Trinity students. But, see, I must confess a certain confusion on the motion before the House tonight. See, I hail from UCD, a small, independent and plucky institution from poor old South Dublin, formerly known as the Catholic University, where we count among our alumni great Irish Republicans such as Kevin O'Higgins, Kevin Barry, and Francis Sheehy Skeffington. Over in UCD, we view you here in Trinity as little more than West Brits, members of a Protestant ascendancy desperate to cling on to the last dregs of the crown, desperate to be British. You can therefore understand my confusion when I heard tonight's motion. Get the Brits out? Do they mean kick themselves out? Are we going to have an audience? But I'd like to address something that Dermot said before I continue. Because how dare he insult Kneecap with such lyrical genius as a dog with a job? What the fuck is that? It's pure poetry, you know? But apart from winning ourselves a Trinity, why else should we get rid of the British? Because there are many, many reasons. First of all, we get rid of the Brits, then we get rid of Dermot's beloved Sinn Féin, the reason for their existence. This is only a good thing. Bye bye Brits, bye bye Sinn Féin. I do value my kneecaps, that was a joke. But after 800 years, why should we get rid of the Brits? Because they have given us many wonderful things with zero negative consequences. The potato, which Sir Walter Raleigh brought to Ireland in the 1700s, it's been a staple of the Irish diet ever since then, apart from those 7 years where it wasn't. Speaking of other blights, they gave us the Great British Bake Off. There's something about Mary Berry and her evil eyes. Yes, Dermot.
I think that's called a rosal step.
There's something about the way she makes a lemon curd, I'll tell you. But look, the Brits aren't easy to get rid of. The last 800 years have shown that. So I think we need some cultural surgery, sort of like a vasectomy. We need to give the Brits the old snip, snap. Because we have the British press, the Daily Mail, the Star. We need to get rid of them. And in the immortal words of Winston Churchill, who I'm told you here are a fan of, I am in the smallest room in the house. Currently, your paper is in front of me. Very soon, it will be behind me. Perhaps the British papers deserve this treatment. But what else can we get rid of? British pop, I think, next. The likes of Rick Astley, Kate Bush, and Harry Styles. Because for too long, they have tortured our ears. Instead, Maharja, we should be listening to the Clancy Brothers, the Wolf Tones, and of course, my mother's favourite, Daniel O'Donnell. And on the topic of Tom Francis, he's a Brit. Let's get rid of him. Because the Brits are like that one stone in your shoe. You know it's there, it's digging into you and annoying you, and it's generally ruining your day. But for some reason, you can't dig it out. And goodness knows we've tried. But I want to get serious for a moment, Madam President, if you'll permit me. Because I jest about Trinity and I jest about the Brits. But I am an Irish Republican, and I do hope to one day see our island reunited. But I am desperately concerned about the way we are going about this. I think there is a certain emptiness in the motion tonight. This House would get the Brits out. Not to criticise your very good debates conveners, because I think that question was long ago decided. We here down south want that, and following Brexit, I truly believe we will get it. The pertinent question now, though, is what do we do when they leave? Because that's what no one's talking about. I think we're walking happily and blindly into what many of us have been waiting for since the 1920s. There is, I feel, a lack of acknowledgement of unavoidable compromises and a lack of planning that feels oddly reminiscent of the approach by many to Brexit. Because what will our flag look like? What will our government look like? How do we ensure a return, how do we ensure we avoid a return, to the terrible violence of the past? How do we police unwilling communities who still rally around men like Ian Paisley, whose enlightened quotes include, will I do the accent? Never, never, never. And no surrender, we will never bend the knee. That was quite good, Dermot, wasn't it? But there's other questions, though. Will we join NATO, or will NATO cede territory? A controversial question above all else. How do we fund the North services? How do we employ their massive civil service, which is for some reason bizarrely bloated? Do you know the answer to these questions? Because I, for one, certainly don't. And there are uncomfortable questions, which I get the impression we are all avoiding sitting down and answering, because we are all too focused on the ideal and not the reality. As somewhat exemplified by tonight's motion, let's just get them out. Not to criticise your debates conveners or anything. Liam is a fine man, I'm sure. He's in America, I believe, but he's a fine man nonetheless. Don't be fooled. The United Ireland will not be some idyllic paradise where Unionists and Catholics walk hand in hand through the hills of Fermanagh. It will take work and action, and it will take bad days and good days to get there. Because we aren't really acting for United Ireland. Where is the development of increased intelligence services to deal with the inevitable loyalist anger? Where is the investment in a unified road network or proper provision of railroads for an island? It's not just the land and the people of this island that must be united, but its economies also. We are avoiding the difficult questions to deal with the ideal. So yes, let's get the Brits out, but yes, let's have a bit of common sense as well.
For that very fine speech and call on Tom from UCD to continue the case for side opposition. Hear, hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you to the Phil for having me back. It's always a weird feeling speaking in the GMB. For once, without all the creepy faces on the wall that I'm used to, I see the paintings are gone. At least I have the creepy faces of you in the audience and on the Phil committee themselves. Before I delve into this debate, I'd like to reiterate that I'd like to remind the Chamber why this debate is being held here and what it's really about. Like Dermot said, we are speaking tonight in the Provost, Fellows, Foundation Scholars and other members of the board of the College of the Holy and Undivided Trinity of Queen Elizabeth near Dublin to give this great institution its official title. Yes, that's quite a mouthful, reminiscent of a royal decree to remind us where loyalty once lay, if it still doesn't remain. The words Trinity and Elizabeth I go hand in hand, even better than Queen Elizabeth II and the word box. Yeah. Founded in 1592 by Queen Elizabeth I, Trinity was established not just to educate, but to civilise Dublin under the Tudor rule and to propagate Protestantism. From its very inception, it was a beacon of British influence. For centuries, this was the breeding ground for the Protestant ascendancy, the Anglo-Irish ruling class, that was as British as committing atrocities against civilians is. only with more land grabs. Wandering through its cobblestone squares this evening and marvelling at the grand old library makes me want to return in April to catch the annual commemoration of Queen Lizzie. It is more of an Oxbridge affair than a Dublin one. I got the same impression when I went to a competition at Durham University last year, another haven for posh British kids rejected from Oxford and Cambridge. I'm happy to oppose the motion this evening, as I truly believe that Trinity deciding to propose to get the Brits out is a paradox. It's like Harvey Weinstein running a HR seminar, or Prince Andrew leading a lecture on consent. Baffling. Samuel Beckett really put it best when it comes to the students here. He said that this very college contains the cream of Ireland, the rich and the thick. So what, 1592, ancient history at this point. We've surely moved on. It must have gotten better. To their credit, I've always been so impressed with how swiftly the Trinity students reacted during the 1916 Rising. When news of the occupation of the GPO reached campus, as the tricolour was raised across the city, the students here, stirred by the revolutionary spirit, scrammed to the Campanile and hosted the Union Jack. Then they shut the gates. Then wanked each other off, probably. Understanding what getting the Brits out would really mean could lead us to the question of the removal of certain superiority complexes so beloved by the British. Again, I don't think the people in this audience realise who will be affected if this motion passes. You will. You'll be lost on what to talk about on a night out, if not yourselves. My sister is in the audience tonight. She's a prime example of what I refer to as the serious condition known as Trinityitis. I first noticed the symptoms when she came in for our colours debate in UCD, when we hosted a fill for the motion, "This house would rather eat broken glass than go to Trinity." Kitty loudly declared, walking through the campus, how happy she was not to be going to UCD. A few weeks after her attending Doyle's each week after the infamous Pav Fridays, she showed signs of her condition worsening. She exclaimed it was her favourite place to go, as she was with her own people. The friends not in Trinity appear to be gone, beneath the required intellect for her friendship or Tina company. If you have a POI, I'd like to please accept. That's not true. I realised the illness had spread beyond control 2 weeks ago, and that it was too late to save her. One evening, she was going to the law ball. Is it not? Were you not going to the law ball?
It was baseball.
Yes. It was both the law ball and then 2 weeks later it was the best ball, if I remember correctly. She told me that she was pre-drinking with a guy from Blackrock. His college.
No.
Keep an eye on your drink. Fine. It's okay. I realised the seriousness of the situation when she referred to the man as the king of Bess. Kitty Carolyn, everyone, first year law and history. And what if we did get to Brits Out, she's son, and thereby remove Trinity from the country? Why is that a bad idea? Oh, sorry, I was supposed to come up with reasons for that. My bad, imagine them at UCD, I guess. Well, I'm certainly not pro-British. I think we're focusing on the wrong infiltrators this evening. If you weren't so obsessed with getting the Brits out, you may have caught the Russian spy who studied here for 4 years undetected. You haven't even noticed the real spy among you, Laszlo Molnarfi. Who, by judging from your reaction, you're all unfortunately aware of. If you don't know, he was last year's Trinity Student Union president. You may have noticed him trying to cosplay a working-class communist while dressed like a man who's after raiding a charity bin. Laszlo is some sort of bureaucratic spy, I'm sure of it. I mean, he went to the same posh school as Ursula von der Leyen and the famous Trotskyite himself, Boris Johnson. I know he's allegedly gone from the union, but I know that he's still pulling the strings behind the scenes. I saw him bobbing his head the other day in the back of Jenny Maguire's video about abolishing the overnight guest rule, proving some spies are indeed more obvious than others. In conclusion, much as we jest about getting the Brits out, and we will get them out one day, please sort yourselves out first. Let's not overlook the homegrown comedies and tragedies right here under the Campanile. Cop on and vote opposition. Thank you very much.
my proposition. You're here.
Before I properly begin, there are 3 things that I feel are beyond necessary to address. Firstly, I was on the opposition until 20 minutes ago, so I apologise for any inconsistencies or inability to listen for too long to my speech. Secondly, I have recently gone through a political transformation reminding me that I should not be here, for reasons I will later discuss, because of the aforementioned 20-minute ago change of Elizabeth, I'm sorry, we have too many op speakers. You need to hop to the other side of the table. And thirdly, I can't quite remember. I feel like there's something important that I should be saying about the way I sound or the fees I pay, or... Fuck. Oh! Of course. It's me, Elizabeth. Named after the late Queen, which one you can decide. The token English friend. The in-the-flesh British person who I low-key think was a diversity choice for this debate, because I don't know if any of you read the Instagram post, but I was referenced. Not by name, but we can talk about that later. I'm gracing you with my presence to do what my people have done best. Explain and assign my interpretation of Irish cultural and political questions to a room full of Irish people, because obviously you're not capable of knowing them well enough yourselves. Why do you think we had to be here for 800 years? And so, as I'm English, why am I here? Why am I literally putting myself up for sacrifice, kicking myself out of a country I love, and an education which is so much fucking cheaper than it is back home? And this is a disgrace which I will get onto later. Well, the answer is simple. I really, really want a holiday. College is hard, guys. My English and history degree is taking a toll. I have to be up at 10 a.m. tomorrow. If we're to follow the models thus proposed of just immediately kicking all British people out at the airport, thank fucking God. I don't have to explain to my parents why I'm no longer pursuing a degree. I can just go somewhere warmer than here, which admittedly could be fucking Iceland. What is the weather currently? I will be free to fuck around, non-stop, all the time. Look at me. Separate the frazzled Englishwoman stereotype from your head for just a second, and imagine me on a beach, not having to read Chaucer and enjoying my life. This is an English stereotype that deserves a break. Except, in the last 20 minutes, I've realized that no, she fucking doesn't, because her presence here is representative of the broken nation which 800 years of English oppression left behind. British oppression is continuously seen in every aspect of Irish life, and it's for that reason, the devastation that the English have systematically wrought across this country, that I cannot stand here in good faith, cannot live in Dublin and love my life here as much as I do, and speak as a member of the proposition, despite Tom Francis's objections, because apparently he's really into keeping British people here. Whereas for me, being a Brit living in Ireland is about taking responsibility for what we have done, what we have destroyed, and what we continue to exploit. I think I should begin by stating the obvious. After 800 years of oppression, us Brits have long overstayed our welcome, and admittedly, it was a welcome that was never really there to begin with. Just because it's not surprising, however, that the ghosts of occupation remain in the ways Irish society is run, remain in the names of our college, remain in the names of this room, remain in the fact that our fucking law society thought it was appropriate to give a woman who has systematically destroyed the English political system an award within recent weeks is disgusting and concerning. It shows that the continuous British presence in Ireland is not just in memory. They're not just the ghosts that perhaps British newspapers would like to, if they are the ghosts that British newspapers would like us to believe they are, they still have to be fucking exercised. And I appreciate what my colleagues on the bench have said about removing all English people from the country, because as has been said, I would get a holiday. But the way I am proposing that all the Brits should get out is not physically, because I wouldn't be here standing today, knowledgeably to a certain extent, talking about British occupation in Ireland, had I not come here and been given an education about Irish history and what we have done to you had I not come here. Because the British still refused to accept the fact that this was their first colony. You were used as a roadmap for the atrocities that were wrought across the world, and yet you still let me, an English citizen, come here and vote in your election. That's a sign of pseudo-colonialism. That's an unhealthy practice which needs to be stopped, because there is no reason why, as an English person, we should still be so deeply entwined within your political systems. Sorry. Thank you. Furthermore, to return to the place in which we are, to the university debate, my place here at college, British enrolments currently constitute 13% of all international students across Ireland. And as has been mentioned, maybe we are all just Oxford rejects, but we are really happy to be here, guys, we promise. It's really cool. When compared to the 1.5% of Irish students represented in British universities, it yet again becomes clear that despite the extraction of more traditional forms of colonialism, the British are still very happy to exploit a cheaper education, a cheaper, more accessible education. And as Trinity, sorry? I'm on Irish fees.
Isn't the difference between that number because there's a lot more English people than Irish people? That's not a symbol of colonialism.
No, the fact that I come here, thank you. I come here and pay what Irish people are paying, despite the fact that we have chosen to leave the EU. If I went to France, I wouldn't pay French fees, I would pay international fees. The same is true for Germany. But I come here and I pay what? 3,000 euros a year, whereas any Irish person would have to come and pay, admittedly, English fees of, I think, begrudging on £10,000 a year. I don't know what the euro conversion is for that. Yes?
Irish students still pay the same as Northern Irish.
Yeah, it's not an interaction. Cool, yeah, thank you. Thank you. And so to my second point, again, shit, I really need to stop explaining Irish policy to Irish people. I'm now up here and I don't know what to do. My second point, as I have already evidenced, the Brits continue to be consistently and unnecessarily involved in Irish society, an involvement which undermines the lives and deaths of the thousands of Irish people who not only fought for independence, but were used to create the British Empire. Yet again, I hate to be the history student, but the island served as the roadmap for all subsequent British colonial exploits. Slavery would not have existed in the way it did had there not been space. Sorry, I'm very confused about timing.
It's like
Time. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to breeze past everything. Yeah, again, 20 minutes. I've really tried. It's all going on. I would like to conclude by saying I stand before you as a British person who strongly believes Britain should get the fuck out of Ireland. Irish policy, politics, and society, if not out of Ireland itself, because I really love living here. This can be done through a systematic change to education and societal reform of both countries. England may help Ireland, but as I have evidenced, it is an aid given with a condescending, self-beneficial shrug. This House would get the Brits out of Ireland's politics, out of the North, out of an identity that deserves to be so much more than a British definition of their own history, because only then can Ireland begin to shake off its colonial relationship with England and move into a new era of history, Irish history. Don't leave Ireland alone, but give it a seat at the fucking table, because you have done enough, and I should not be here being given the fucking right to tell that to you. I should be sat down and lectured, because that's what my culture represents. I am renouncing my seat at this table. Ireland is not a cast-off of British colonialism. It's a vibrant, fascinating, beautiful country with an identity that it deserves to be equal to, if not bloody supersede that of the disgusting oppression it was made to suffer. So I thank you for listening to me, but if I am to support my argument, I have to recognise that, as a Brit, this is a table at which I do not deserve to speak at, and I will be leaving this debate. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Elizabeth for that very fine speech and call on Gabrielle to continue the case for side opposition. Hear, hear.
Madam Chair, distinguished guests, members, any Brits left over, thank you all so much for making the effort to be here when you could have all been at home enjoying yourselves. It's the kind of self-sacrifice that makes this country the greatest country in the British Isles. I was told at 2 o'clock this afternoon that I'd be speaking for the Brits, seeing as the other guy's gone off holidaying in the Cotswolds. And so I was sent here as an emissary for King Chuck and old Cam in Buckingham. I don't know, he said something about holding his plantation. And so, after having a long think, drowning their sorrows with the Earl of Grey, he's a good chap, never made it into the House of Lords, but they finally decided that who better to represent a former colonial empire than a Dutch South African? It's pretty neat. I've been here a sum total of 5 minutes. What do I know about Ireland's long and painful history? Nothing. But that's never stopped the British from having strong opinions, so why should it stop me? And so it is with the utmost humility and bewilderment that I rise on this most delicate of national questions that the Brits should sod off. But we can't do that. I mean, that's mean and nasty. The Irish aren't mean or nasty. I mean, except for the 15 bus driver last night who at 3 a.m. waved at me while sticking my arm out to stop him. And I thought that was pretty mean. There's only one like every hour at that point. But have we considered the ethical implications? Have we, for instance, stopped to ask the Brits how they feel? Because if history has taught us anything, it is that mass displacement of populations based on nationality is always a simple, clean, and morally unambiguous affair. Shall we set up designated British evacuation zones? Should we force them to board ferries back to the land of overboiled vegetables and warm ale? No chicken fillet rolls. I know. And what are the poor Brits themselves, cast out of their beloved island, left to wander the Greggs-fueled hellscape of post-Brexit Britain like Dickens' ghosts? No more avocados on toast in Rathmines. Guys, people vacation in Dublin for Pete's sake. Like, come on, their anguish would be profound. What should become of the Guardian opinion columnists who have fled the UK only to find themselves unwanted here? How about tech entrepreneurs who came to Dublin believing it to be a tax haven, only to realize that they must now suffer the indignity of being taxed? And by the way, like, just how logistically do we lure all the Brits into a boat? Like, what, promises of queuing opportunities? How do we do this? Folks, have you seen the Brits' neighbors? Not a pretty sight. They're still, getting over the divorce. Brexit. This is the only part of Europe they're still allowed in. I mean, the French, they're still stinging over Fleabag or whatever the Claire French haircut was. Plus, they let rats in the kitchen, and they call them chef connoisseurs. Like, come on, these are not serious people, all right? The Germans are just not fun. Even the Americans texted the Brits saying, have you even said thank you once? And what of the unbelievable cultural contributions the United Kingdom has made to the Irish scene, folks? Modern inventions, architecture, Love Island, the UK Eurovision, what the hell is that? Like, Weatherspoon, no. To counter the uniquely...
We may lose Love Island, but we will always have Crawl, Arab, Crawl.
To counter the unique problem of scandalously priced pints, with its reliable consumers of British tourists at Temple Bar, Britain decided to bring an excessively priced alternative, Weatherspoons, thus neatly doing what Brits do best, swooping into foreign countries to solve the problems they created themselves. We're so good at that. Or shall we, in a moment of true mercy, simply send them to live out their days in the concept that is the Isle of Man? I still don't understand that. And how, more pertinently, shall we deal with the question of the half-British, those lost souls of mixed heritage, born of an Irish mother and a British father, now forced to choose between Taylor crisps and constitutional democracy? But let us reflect truly for a moment whether exile is actually punishment. Are we to believe that sending them back to that hellscape of the United Kingdom is some sort of revenge? No, my friends, that's not punishment. That is an escape. If we truly wish to make the Brits suffer, we must not banish them. We've got to keep them here. We've got to force them to integrate. Like, let them struggle to rent a flat in Dublin 8. Let them battle the LSE when they need a GP appointment. Let them learn the hard way that sure, we'll meet for a pint means absolutely nothing. And so, with a heart full of mercy, I implore you, vote against this motion for the good of Britain, for the good of Ireland, most importantly, for the good of the landlords. Chuck your alarm? No idea what that means. Someone told me it means Britain's time has come. Thank you.
And call on Ray to close out the debate for side proposition. Hear, hear!
I really don't know what the fuck is going on. I was given no information that we were allowed to curse, and that has changed things. So I'm going to curse, and I won't owe anyone a bottle of port, which is great, which is our punishment anyways. But I will start. Forgive me if my speech is too formal. I was told only yesterday afternoon that it might be a joke motion, which it obviously is now. I was told that by the illustrious President Dermot Hamill, HLM. I ain't finished, bitch. Dermot Hamill, HLM asterisk. You saw his brown nosing during his speech, obviously, saying that the room is beautiful. It's okay. Wouldn't put it past him to perform sabotage, considering the amount of coups he's led. No, thank you. And he would know better than to attempt something against me, since I'm happy to blackmail him with my father. Dermot is convinced that he can change my dad's sexuality. No. So I tried everything I could to prepare for speaking on this motion. I read a couple of books. I already don't like the royal family. The majority of English people I know are annoying. They're sitting over there. I'm a supporter of Irish reunification. And like every American who comes to Ireland, my grandmother was born in Cork. But I did one thing I never thought I would do. I listened to Kneecap. And God bless you if you think that is rap. That is some fucking white ass shit. It's crap rap. It's crap rap. But I was lost. So I talked to one of my friends who had an issue with the motion. And he actually made a good point. The Brits have been out of the Republic for over a century. This is a purely northern motion. And it's very interesting that you only invite 2 northern people to speak. Oh yes, just one, sorry. I forgot. I guess my Irishness has been taken away by Dermot Hamill, HLM. Since the signing of the English-Irish Treaty, you got 26 counties, and you could do what you want with them. Could succeed or fail on your own terms. The North does not have that opportunity, no privilege to put our government to the test. We have a fallback, we have a scapegoat that is swathed in red, white, and blue and treats us as the gum stuck to their shoe. Let's go back to something more in my comfort zone so I don't sound I'm posturing or lecturing like most Americans do. Let me paint the picture. A body of water separating 2 islands, a population looked down upon as lesser, years of animosity resulting in a bloody but historic conflict. I, of course, am talking about America's Revolution. I think I have as much right to talk about getting the Brits out. America has done it twice successfully. I have to reiterate, twice successfully. No matter what anyone says, you didn't win in 1812. Not sorry about it, don't want it. But the point I'm making is we were able to make our republic from scratch. mold it to our ideals, change it when needed as well, improve it. We had a good run, and now we're fucking failing. With no one to blame but ourselves, this is all the North asks, to put our government to the test, and especially our current leading party in Stormont Sinn Féin. Shut up. For the U.S. has more in common with the North than just troublesome Orangemen. In fact, I'm not surprised that Dermot Hamill, HLM asterisk, from Armagh is speaking on the opposition. If the Brits are out, what else would you do? Would you still be a political commentator? What would you even talk about? If nationalist parties had no roadblock from the UK, what would they actually do? Their one talking point is unification, and whenever something doesn't work out, it's time to play the blame game. They posture as if there is still a physical conflict happening. I'll take you back. After the Japanese surrendered to the United States, marking an end to World War II, there were holdouts. You know where I'm going. Hiro Onoda, a Japanese soldier, refused to surrender and hid in the Philippines, still carrying out guerrilla attacks on civilians until 1974. He held out for 28 years. Dermot Hamill is an elderly Japanese man. I love it when he laughs. The fight is not what it was. Nationalist parties need to evolve beyond talk and pursue real action. They are the Japanese soldiers still waiting to fight a war that does not exist in the same context. Let our parties be accountable. Let us stand on our own 2 feet. Give them a chance to do something other than postulate about unification. And let's face it, the Northern Ireland executive is only in shambles because of the Brits. Their Scrooge McDuck attitude leaves the NI executive fully at the whims of the powers that be in London. I say it's time for us to take responsibility, and once the Brits are out, they can foot the bill for it. It wasn't my joke. Small reparations for the over 800 years of persecution. It may be tough in its initial phases, but let the 32 counties go through their teething stage and we will be all good. It will be a good quack. After all, shame. After all, birds of... No, I'm not saying that. The Republic was given a chance and have succeeded and failed. Amen de Valera. The Republic is the EU's fastest growing economy. Just yesterday, President Donald Trump met with the Taoiseach. Is that right? Is that Taoiseach, that one? And accused Ireland of stealing U.S. companies, but praised him for it in a backhanded way that only Trump can. The Irish are smart. Yes, smart people. You took our pharmaceutical companies and other companies. This beautiful island of 5 million people has got the entire U.S. pharmaceutical industry in its grasp. Grasp. That's what Dermot does. What other country in the world that is not run by a dictator can say they garnered praise from Trump? Think of it what you will, but it shows that the Republic is a player in their own right. Ireland was the experimental laboratory of British colonialization, and Ulster was the prototype plantation. We are still living that effect in the North today. Ireland's misfortune was that she was not colonized enough. That was said by John Biggs Davison in the 70s as an MP. How can we expect to be treated fairly, justly, and honorably with people like this in our mother government? We deserve to choose for ourselves, so vote Proposition for 1. Vote for your forgotten Northern brethren. You owe us that much.
I'd like to thank Ray for that very fine speech and call on Yvonne to close out the debate as a whole. Hear, hear. Oh.
Yeah, you can try that, Lacey.
talk amongst yourselves. I'm a really serious speaker. Hi. Okay, thank you so much for that sitting ovation. We have two tiny problems. I thought the motion was this house would get your tits out. You're welcome. So, what a debate so far, guys. Pretty heavy stuff. I think we solved all the diplomatic disputes. We witnessed a family falling apart. And we listened to some funny accents. Thank you, Stephanie. So, yeah. No, you got that one. Well done. So I am back for what is most likely my last ever chamber speech. And don't worry, I'm also the required 10 feet away from Annika, and I will stay this way at all times. At least I think it's 10 feet. I'm used to dealing in inches. So, yes, that was a sex joke. That is the tone of my speech here tonight, guys. Also, up until about 6 hours ago, I was speaking on side proposition, which just goes to show no one wanted to speak on op tonight. But I will do my very best. So therefore, dear Catholics, Protestants, Unionists, Nationalists, Sadists, Automobilists, Hairstylists, Sophists, my therapist, all the men I've kissed, and of course the film mailing list, welcome tonight for our annual Are we going to unite Ireland debate? So, op, British. The institutions of the British Empire forged a long-standing tradition of development in shit hats. Brits have contributed to the world in many ways, including naked pictures of Prince Harry and the beautiful but relentless songs of Ed Sheeran. All that red hair kind of seems like they want to be Irish, you know? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Okay, I mean, even earlier today, I had to convince Dermot to not wear the same dress as me. Okay? I just don't think orange is your order. Sorry, colour. Orange is not your colour. Thanks so much for Queen's University for coming tonight to fulfill our diversity quota. I was told that I wasn't allowed to make fun of them, so thank fuck UCD are here. I mean, sorry, your university kind of sounds like an STI. Ooh, I've got a UCD in my South Dublin. It's like a Belfield down there. We did try to reach out to Galway, you know, to beat the elitism criticisms, but they were too busy fighting off another Burke campaign for ST president. I think it's Burke number 17, wants to ban transgenderism and reusable cups. And we voted for Ron. We thought our candidates were bad. Are any of them here? No? Still trying to learn what the 6 counties are? Piranha, not me. Anyway, guys, welcome to the Phil. Some say our name is the Philosophical Society. It's false because we don't inspire philosophical thought in our members. Untrue. There isn't a single person in this room here tonight that isn't asking themselves, why am I here? You're welcome. Thanks to my speech. Sorry, being on op and the speech being what I have found when I referenced Trauma Psychology 101, this isn't the place for me, okay? And no, I'm not joining the hiss. This is not a midlife crisis. I do believe I should be on prop. But I'm not also just speaking from the heart here tonight. I'm also speaking from my contractual obligation with the Phil when I say, fuck the Brits. Anyway, this isn't a religious thing, okay? I'm not going to bring up the whole Catholic Protestant thing. I've done that one before, and Instagram didn't appreciate it. Because the Theo was upstairs, and they will get on my ass. Do you guys remember the Theo? Me neither. It must be exhausting always rooting for the anti-Theo. The Theo, sorry, I had to slip in Taylor. The Theo, of course, do you guys remember them? They won the coveted award for the most likely to have an orgy on the GMB pool table, the CSC Awards, which is really ironic because for an orgy you need at least 3 people in your society. Okay, so why do we want the Brits out? Well, when have we ever wanted the Brits in? Except for young Hugh Grant, he can come in me anytime. It's probably the best time to mention that my mother is here. fun. But don't worry, my mother supports my failed dating endeavors and my weird hobbies, which includes failed dating endeavors. One time I was in TK Maxx with her because we're earning, and we were in the candle aisle, and I said jokingly, that candle looks like a penis. She looks at the candle, she then looks me up and down and says, well, clearly you're not getting enough if you think that looks like a penis. Bitch! Anyway, sorry, back to Sinn Féin, IRA. Anyways, I'm coming to the end of my speech, which we can all agree was really argumentative and on topic. I know that I have convinced you all to vote for op, prop, I can't remember. Just vote for me, honestly. So just some live updates to fill the time. Phil with a PH, of course. I will be graduating soon and waving goodbye to Trinity and the Phil. And you're probably all sitting here now like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed freshers with all of college ahead of you and probably thinking, who's this hot bitch and how do I become her? Well, as contractually obligated and as schools convener of the Phil, I am here to tell you how to get onto Phil Council, and you need what's called speaks. You can do that by speaking here in chamber, but if you're like, oh my God, Yvonne, I can't do what you do, you're right. However, there is another way, such as volunteering at the school's mace on March 29th and 30th. Woo! Which I am conveniently organising. We would love to see you all there. Sorry for the self-promo, but as you can see, I do not have a chair on this stage. I am an officer without a chair. Thank you. And if Kendrick Lamar has taught me anything, no, not the deep institutional racism found in America and how music has the ability to bring us together, no, is that I am not enough of a petty bitch. So, even though the Phil hasn't given me a chair, I still won't join the hist. I mean, is there a his person here? Yeah. I mean, did you see their hist wall theme? Smoke and mirrors, which is I call what they hide their bullshit behind. Oh! Oh. They even have a magician coming, which is really apt for the hist because they are notoriously good at magic tricks, especially making things disappear. You submit equity complaints and poof, gone. I didn't write that joke, Annika did. And that is a direct quote for the UT if they're watching, because I know they don't know anything better to do. Anyway, sorry, while I don't have a chair, there is something else I'd rather sit on. You know, this is a nice... Don't say you didn't want this, Stephanie. This is a nice place. This is a nice place to sit. This is a nice place. Is this me announcing my run for Phil President? No. My ego is not that big. However, it is big enough to do this. Move over, Westbrook. This is my last day of speech. I would like to say thank you to the Phil, thank you to Annika. You've already said, long live Phil. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Yvonne and every speaker tonight for what was a wonderful debate. Hear, hear. In a moment, I will call a vote, but before I do so, I would like to remind everyone that there will be a wine reception in the room just there after this, and after this, the speak will be at Doyle's. So, and finally, if you would like, you can fill out our oratory returns on your way out to rate our speakers for tonight. You scan that code right there. Bam, bam. Now, you scan that code to rate our speakers, not on looks, but on speaking ability. Either 1 point for looks. Now onto the debate, on the vote. In a moment, I will call for the vote. All those in favor of getting the Brits Out will shout aye. All those against will shout nay. So, all those in favor of getting the Brits Out. Aye! All those against?
Nay!